The Enneagram is a map that shows us 9 different personality types, 9 different ways of seeing and being in the world, and we each naturally gravitate towards one of these 9 different personality types. And I think the Enneagram is the best tool we have to know ourselves better, to understand who we are and why we do what we do. It's also the best tool I know to help you as a leader to understand your team, your direct reports, and even your supervisor. And as an artist and a coach, I'm in the business of finding creative strategies to help you grow your leadership. So in this video, I will combine 2 of my favorite things, the Enneagram and the iconic characters from the Star Wars universe. And I'm an Enneagram teacher, and I use it as a tool when I'm coaching leaders and teams. And the first rule of Fight Club, oh wait, that's a different movie. The first rule of Enneagram is never type another person. The Enneagram is not a parlor trick or a game, and we should never try to guess another person's type. But I'm happy to give you my opinion about fictional characters. Now, I realize that assigning Enneagram types to Star Wars characters may be a little controversial. Not because I'm sharing my perspectives using the Enneagram, but because of the inconsistencies in character development between Lucasfilm and Disney. So now that we have that on the table, let's jump straight in and have some fun and maybe learn something about the Enneagram in the process. Enneagram type 1s are known as the reformer or the perfectionist, and they have a strong sense of justice and personal integrity. And the basic need of the Enneagram 1 is to do what's right, to be perfect and to be balanced, and their basic fear is of being corrupt, evil, or defective. And I see Obi-Wan Kenobi as an Enneagram 1.
Hello there.
He's principled, he's disciplined, and committed to upholding the ideals of the Jedi Order. And he shows a strong sense of duty and a desire to make the galaxy a better place. And he takes his role as Jedi Knight and mentor to both Anakin and Luke very seriously. And he often puts the needs of the galaxy above his own desires. Type 1s have high standards for themselves and for others, and they strive to do things correctly. Obi-Wan is known for his disciplined approach to training and his dedication to mastering the lightsaber and the ways of the Force. Now, Type 1s can experience some inner conflict and turmoil because their idealistic visions of how things should be doesn't always match the reality of the world around them. And Obi-Wan is bothered by the imperfections of the Jedi Order, which leads him to these moments of introspection and doubt. And when Enneagram 1s are in stress or disintegration, they can adopt characteristics of Enneagram 4 and become a little moody, depressed, and sensitive to criticism. And we see this with Obi-Wan. After Anakin's fall to the dark side, he's solemn and pensive, and he grapples with feelings of failure and betrayal. Now, on the other side, when an Enneagram 1 is moving towards integration and security, they can adopt some of the characteristics of 7 and become more spontaneous and joyful. And we see Obi-Wan's sense of humor and playfulness when he teases Anakin. Enneagram type 2 are known as the helper or the giver, and they need to be needed to help others and to feel valued and appreciated for their contributions. And their basic fear is of being unwanted or unworthy of being loved. And I think Padme Amidala is a 2. She's caring, she's compassionate, she's selfless, and she's deeply committed to serving others. So she works to protect her people and advocates for justice, and she promotes peace in the galaxy. And as a leader and a senator, Padme is nurturing and supportive towards her allies. Now, type 2s, they tend to prioritize the needs of others above their own. So they sometimes neglect their own well-being. So Padme frequently puts the welfare of others ahead of her own personal interests and safety. And as a 2, Padme is emotionally sensitive and empathetic. She's able to understand and connect with the feelings and experiences of others. So she's compassionate towards individuals who are suffering or marginalized, such as the refugees on Naboo or the enslaved people of Tatooine. And like other 2s, Padme may not explicitly seek recognition, but she does derive a sense of fulfillment from making a positive impact on the lives of others. Now, when 2s are under stress or disintegration, they may adopt some characteristics of type 8. And this leads them to become more assertive and confrontational and protective. And in times of security and integration, twos may adopt some characteristics of type 4, and they can embrace their own uniqueness and their creativity and their emotional depth. So they can become more introspective and aware of their own needs. And we see this in Padme in her personal relationship with Anakin. She was able to tap into her emotional richness and express her individuality more freely. Enneagram type 3s are known as the achiever or the performer. And they have a strong drive for success, a focus on image and reputation, and a desire for admiration and validation from others. And their basic need is to be successful, and their basic fear is of being worthless. Lando Calrissian is a type 3.
How you doing, you old pirate?
He's ambitious, he's a smooth-talking charmer, and an expert at navigating social situations. He's focused on success and achieving his goals as a businessman. Now, Lando is ambitious, and he's motivated by a desire to achieve greatness and elevate his status in the galaxy, whether that's winning the Millennium Falcon from Han in a game of sabacc or negotiating deals with the Empire. Lando's driven to excel and come out on top. And when 3s are under stress, they may adopt some characteristics of type 9 and become disengaged, non-confrontational, and they may lose their natural optimism and confidence. So when Lando was confronted with the betrayal of Han and the takeover of Cloud City, he prefers to avoid confrontation and preserve his own safety. However, his withdrawal was temporary. He ends up taking decisive action to confront the Empire and help the Rebel Alliance. Now, on the other side, in times of security and integration, 3s may adopt some characteristics of type 6 and develop a sense of loyalty and responsibility. So, for example, during the Battle of Endor, Lando leads the attack on the second Death Star, despite the risks involved. He's willing to take on a leadership role within the Rebel Alliance, and he becomes a trusted ally and embodies the traits of loyalty and courage and cooperation, even in the face of adversity. Enneagram type 4s are known as the individualist or the romantic. They are known for their deep sense of identity and longing for authenticity and a heightened awareness of their own emotions and inner experiences. Now, their basic desire is to find themselves and their significance, and their basic fear is having no identity of personal significance. Now, I see Ben Solo or Kylo Ren as a type 4. He struggles with his identity and his feelings of isolation and being misunderstood. So Ben's torn between the light and dark sides of the Force. He has this deep desire for belonging and to discover his true self. Now, type 4s experience emotions with depth and intensity, which can lead to inner turmoil and existential angst. Ben has conflicting emotions. He's got a volatile temper, and he struggles with self-doubt and insecurity. 4s have a deep desire to be seen as unique and special. When Ben Solo turns to the dark side and assumes the identity of Kylo Ren, it may be an example of this desire to assert his individuality and distinguish himself from his family and Jedi heritage. And I find it fascinating that he literally wears a mask when he assumes this new identity. Now, geeky side note, the Greek word for mask is persona, which is where we get the English word personality. Type 4s often feel a sense of alienation and being misunderstood, which can lead them to withdraw or isolate. So Ben's feelings of isolation make him susceptible to being manipulated by Supreme Leader Snoke. And when 4s are under stress, they may adopt some characteristics of type 2 and need validation and support. So Ben's tendency to form intense and passionate connections with individuals like Rey is an example of this need for emotional connection and intimacy. And during times of security and integration, type 4s adopt some characteristics of type 1, and they can develop a sense of integrity and responsibility. Now, Ben's desire to restore balance to the Force and bring an end to the conflict between the First Order and the Resistance is an expression of type 1's desire for justice and moral integrity. Enneagram 5s are called the investigator or the observer, and they have the desire to be capable and competent. And they're perceptive and innovative and secretive and isolated. And their basic desire is space and to understand things. And their basic fear is being useless, helpless, or incapable. And the most iconic 5 in Star Wars is, of course, Jedi Grandmaster Yoda. He has a thirst for knowledge, an insatiable curiosity. Now, 5s have a sharp intellect and a natural talent for analysis and insight. And Yoda has this ability to perceive the deeper truths of the Force and to discern the motives and intentions of others. 5s can be introspective and emotionally detached. They prefer to observe and analyze from a distance rather than become emotionally involved. And we see this in Yoda's calm and composed demeanor. He maintains a sense of inner peace and he stays focused and centered even in chaos. 5s also value their independence and they need solitude to recharge. And we first meet Yoda living alone on Dagobah. He values his privacy and his seclusion, and he uses his alone time as an opportunity for introspection and the connection with the Force. And one other interesting aspect of 5s is their communication style. They usually prefer to listen and observe rather than speak. And Yoda speaks in cryptic riddles. He likes to convey wisdom through metaphor and symbolism. And he chooses his words carefully and offers guidance in a concise and thought-provoking manner.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Now, when 5s are under stress, they can adopt some characteristics of 7 and become restless, impulsive, or need to escape to avoid stress. So, for example, Yoda's unconventional and playful approach to mentoring Luke on Dagobah seems like a 7's desire for novelty and stimulation. And in addition to testing Luke's resolve to become a Jedi, I think Yoda was adopting 7 energy in the face of stress and uncertainty. And on the other side, in times of security and integration, 5s can adopt characteristics of type 8 and develop a sense of strength and assertiveness and a willingness to take charge and protect others. So, for example, during moments of crisis, Yoda is decisive and assertive, and he takes command of the situation to confront the dark side, like when he stood up to Darth Sidious in the Senate. Enneagram type 6 are called the loyalist or the skeptic or the devil's advocate. They are dutiful and cautious, and they're often anxious about potential dangers, and they rely on structure and rules to feel secure. And their basic desire is to feel certain and secure, and their basic fear is of being without support and guidance. And I think C-3PO is a prime example of an Enneagram 6. C-3PO is anxious by nature, and so this leads him to anticipate potential dangers and worst case scenarios. And he frequently shares his concerns about his own safety, and he needs lots of reassurance. Now, type 6s are also very loyal and committed to those they trust. 3PO is steadfast and loyal to his friends, especially R2. And type 6s often look to authority figures and established rules for guidance and reassurance. And 3PO is a protocol droid, and so he relies on established protocols and routines to feel secure. And he respects authority figures like Princess Leia and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he needs their approval and guidance because it alleviates his anxiety. Now, type 6s can experience doubt and skepticism and then question their own beliefs and the intentions of others. Now, 3PO is cautious and skeptical, especially in unfamiliar or unpredictable situations. And he never holds back his concerns, and he questions decisions that he perceives as risky or unsafe. When 6s are under stress, they may adopt some characteristics of type 3, which leads them to seek validation and success through external accomplishments. So when C-3PO is under stress, he sometimes gets a little competitive, and he tries to prove himself. When he was being traded by the Jawas, he's quick to demonstrate his competence and brags that he's fluent in over 6 million forms of communication. And during times of security and integration, 6s can adopt characteristics of type 9 and develop a sense of inner peace and show a desire for unity and cooperation. So, for example, there's several times when we see 3PO act as a mediator, and he uses diplomacy to try to reach a compromise to keep the peace. Enneagram 7s are called the enthusiast or the adventurer or the epicure. And sevens are known for their adventurous and spontaneous nature, and they love to seek out new experiences and excitement. Their basic need is to avoid pain and to be cheerful. And their basic fear is of being deprived or left out. And I think the scruffy looking nerf herder is a 7.
Who's scruffy looking?
Han Solo is charismatic, he's adventurous and spontaneous, and he's always looking for excitement and adventure. And he lives in the moment, and he often avoids responsibility. He also engages in risky behaviors like smuggling Rathtars, evading Imperial forces, and playing high-stakes games of sabacc. And sevens are resourceful and smart, and they can think on their feet and improvise solutions. Han Solo is optimistic and confident, and he cherishes his freedom as a smuggler and a pilot. And he prefers to live life on his own terms and avoid commitments or obligations that could restrict his ability to chase adventure. Now, sevens usually avoid painful emotions, and they are masters at reframing negatives into positives. And Han deflects serious topics with humor and sarcasm, and he prefers to escape painful situations. Now, an example is when Han ran away from the pain after Ben Solo turned to the dark side. Han felt a profound sense of failure as a father, and he blamed himself for not being able to stop Ben from surrendering to the dark side. Now, when sevens are under stress, they can adopt some characteristics of 1, and they become focused on rules and justice and duty. So, for example, when Han Solo returns to help Luke and the Rebel Alliance during the Battle of Yavin, he confronts his fears and he stands up for what he believes is right, which demonstrates a commitment to a higher cause and a willingness to put aside his personal interests for the greater good. Yahoo! And on the other side, during times of security and integration, sevens may adopt some characteristics of type 5 and develop a sense of introspection and curiosity and a desire for knowledge and understanding. Han shows a level of strategic thinking and problem solving when he devises a plan to rescue Princess Leia from the Death Star. Enneagram 8s are called the challenger, the leader, or the protector. They are strong-willed, assertive, protective, and they confront injustice head-on. And their basic desire is to avoid being controlled, and their basic fear is being harmed or betrayed. Princess General Leia Organa is a classic Enneagram 8.
Somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way.
She's strong, she's assertive, she's protective and tender with those she trusts. She speaks her mind and she stands up for what she believes is right, even in the face of danger. Leia is courageous and refuses to back down in a fight. 8s are protective and loyal to their loved ones and what they believe in. Leia has a fierce devotion to her allies and the rebel cause, and she puts herself in harm's way to ensure their safety and well-being. And Leia values her independence and her autonomy, and she refuses to be controlled by others. And she's a natural leader who trusts in her own abilities and judgment. And she prefers to take charge and lead by example rather than rely on anyone else. 8s are known for their direct communication style. They speak their mind.
I don't know who you are or where you came from. But from now on, you do as I tell you, okay?
Leia has a no-nonsense approach to leadership and diplomacy. She gets straight to the point. And during stressful situations, 8s may adopt characteristics of Enneagram 5 and withdraw emotionally and intellectually, retreating into their own thoughts and become reserved and introspective. And we see Leia become emotionally detached, and she prioritizes logic and reason over personal feelings during the mission to rescue Han Solo from Jabba the Hutt. And in times of security and integration, 8s can adopt characteristics of type 2 and develop empathy and a desire to connect with others in a meaningful way. And an example of this is her playful and nurturing interactions with the Ewoks on the forest moon of Endor, and when she learns that Luke is her brother. Enneagram type 9s are called the peacemaker or the mediator. And 9s are trusting and stable, and they're optimistic and supportive and deeply loyal. And the basic need is to avoid conflict and to have peace and harmony. And the basic fear of the 9 is loss and separation. Luke Skywalker is a 9. And we meet him on Tatooine working on a moisture farm. And even though all his friends have gone and he has dreams of leaving Tatooine to explore the galaxy, he's reluctant to leave out of a sense of duty and responsibility towards his Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. And of course, all of that soon changes and he ends up leaving to join the Rebel Alliance and become a Jedi Knight like his father.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
And as an Enneagram 9, Luke has a strong desire for inner peace and harmony. And so he seeks to resolve conflicts both within himself and among others. And he tries to find balance in the middle of chaos and turmoil. And Luke has a natural talent for conflict resolution and mediating disputes. And he tends to avoid confrontation whenever possible, and he prefers to find peaceful solutions rather than resorting to violence. On the Death Star, he comes up with this stealthy plan to rescue Leia by pretending to be stormtroopers with Chewie as a prisoner so that they can infiltrate the detention block. And in Return of the Jedi, he tries to reason with Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader, and he urges them to turn away from the dark side and choose redemption. And when nines are in stressful situations or disintegration, they can take on some characteristics of Enneagram 6, and they can become anxious and worried and become more self-doubting, which makes decision-making that much more difficult. In The Empire Strikes Back, after his initial training with Yoda on Dagobah, Luke has moments of anxiety about his abilities as a Jedi, and he struggles with self-doubt and uncertainty. And he questions whether he has what it takes to confront the dark side and fulfill his destiny as a Jedi Knight. In times of security and integration, nines can adopt characteristics of threes and become more energetic and goal-oriented and decisive. When Luke confronts Darth Vader in The Return of the Jedi, he exhibits a newfound sense of confidence and assertiveness, and he embodies the qualities of a hero and embraces his true identity as a Jedi Knight and a member of the Rebel Alliance. And that is Enneagram theory through the iconic Star Wars characters. And my goal in exploring these characters and their motivations is to offer deeper insights into the complexities of human nature and the universal themes of growth and redemption and self-discovery that permeate both the Enneagram and the Star Wars saga. And of course, these are just my speculations, but I think I laid out some pretty compelling evidence for my choices. May the Force be with you, always.